we should be talking about why Kamala Harris has done this to this small town, and the media and the Democrats ignored it for an entire year. Kristen, I was talking about this on the Senate Banking Committee months ago. Nobody would pay attention to it until we started sharing the 911 calls of people in Springfield saying the migrants are eating the geese.
And yet,
I think that's really, really shameful that no one cared about it or paid attention to it.
And yet, Senator, officials, the mayor, other local officials have said there's just no evidence of what you're saying, that it's baseless, those claims. Can't you just make your argument about immigration without making those claims, Senator? Why not just make an argument about immigration? Why do you have to delve into repeating these baseless claims that, again, Senator, have been repeated by neo-Nazis?
Kristen, I hear you saying that they're baseless, but I'm not repeating them because I invented them out of thin air. I'm repeating them because my constituents are saying these things are happening. I mean,
but
just
no
yesterday,
evidence.
A video came out of a migrant 30 miles away eating a cat. Clearly, these rumors are out there because constituents are seeing it with their own eyes, and some of them are talking about it. Now, look, we also have to talk about and should primarily talk about the effects that this has had on car insurance rates, on disease rates. Those are the things that I'm spending 95% of my time talking about, Kristen. But again, the media didn't care about this story until we started sharing the 911 call about the geese. That is an indictment of the American media. But the real problem here, Kristen, let me just finish this point, is Kamala Harris opened the border with no plan for how to assimilate 20,000 people. It's made the community worse off. That's what we should be focused on.
Senator, I have to say, though, that the mayor from Dayton in that video that you're talking about and police chief responded forcefully to that new video you just referenced. They say there's absolutely no evidence to even remotely suggest that immigrants are eating pets. Let me just ask you, though, and
boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, we got to talk about the mainstream liberal media and their continued meltdown over Trump's comments at the debate, bringing attention to the Haitian migrant story out in Springfield, Ohio, where because of the Biden-Harris policies, open border policies, they have imported over 20,000 Haitian migrants into a community of 60,000 people. Now, because the mainstream liberal media is so Trump deranged, they do not understand that their wall-to-wall, non-stop coverage of this story and what Trump said is actually backfiring in multiple ways. Okay, one, probably the most damaging way, is that they continue to talk about how there are allegedly threats of violence that are happening in Springfield, which I do not condone. I do not think that these are good things. But we don't know who is behind these threats. Who's to say that it's not a Democrat that is behind the threats, right? Democrats or liberals could be behind these threats, and they are using these threats in order to try to make Trump look bad, right? I think that is much more likely than it to be some right-wing extremists making these types of threats. But furthermore, the continued obsession with this story really just brings attention to the problem of the border and what is happening in this country, okay? Which is that Kamala Harris and Joe Biden are letting in a ton of people who try to come into the country illegally and allowing them to stay, okay? Using Biden's executive privileges to classify these illegal immigrants as temporary protected workers or allowing them to seek asylum, okay, and having them stay in the country as they await their court dates, their hearings, whatever. This is what they're doing, okay? They're bending over backwards, abusing our laws and some of the loopholes in our laws in order to subvert the Constitution, to subvert the rule of law, and to permanently change the fabric and everything we know and love about this country for their benefit, okay? For them to accumulate more power and control. That is what is happening, okay? And the obsession with this story, okay, with the claims that have been made, okay, about what's going on in Springfield, I think really is making a lot of people aware and awake to the reality that, hey, this could happen in your small town, okay? That your small town, your suburb, okay, your maybe mid-sized city, whatever, you're not exempt, okay? You're not exempt from the consequences of the open border policies from the Biden administration and Kamala Harris, okay? And the media, because they're so dumb and Trump deranged, they don't realize that they're actually highlighting the failures of Kamala Harris every single time they boo-hoo on and cry about this story, right? What Trump said, okay? All of this derangement it's just backfiring. That's what's happening, okay? That's exactly what's happening. So, with that being said, I want to react to CNN anchor Kate Bolduan, who is going to try to grill GOP House Whip Rep Tom Emmer on this issue and basically beg him to retract some of the claims, okay, or to speak out against some of the claims of what is happening in Springfield. And she's going to lose her mind as she begs him to do it because he is going to refuse, right? He's just going to refuse to bend the knee. And it's pretty hilarious to watch this woman beg this guy to say the magic word. So without further ado, let's get into it.
I do also want to get your take. You've been around politics for a long time, and J.D. Vance was on CNN yesterday, and he is sticking by the now debunked claims by local officials that he and Donald Trump have spread, suggesting that Haitian migrants are eating pets in Ohio. Let me play what happened yesterday.
The American media totally ignored this stuff until Donald Trump and I started talking about cat memes. If I have to, create stories so that the American media actually pays attention to the suffering of the American people, then that's what I'm going to do, Dana.
When called out for saying that he's creating a story, here, J.D. Vance tried to clean it up. But the Republican governor just yesterday from Ohio, he called this continued talk about it and this storyline disgusting.
Okay, so here's the thing, right? I think JD definitely did not use the right word choice when he said creating stories, because it makes it sound like he's just making things up. What he's actually saying is that if I have to put these things out there, right, the stories that I am hearing, okay, from my constituents, if I have to put these things out there to the public, okay, in the media, in order for it to get attention, in order for you guys to actually care about the issues that are happening, okay, in this country when it comes to illegal immigration, then that's what I'll do, right? That is what he actually really meant to say. That's what he meant, okay? What he really meant is that if I have to create headlines, right? If I have to make headlines, okay, in order to get these stories out there, in order for the media to pay attention to what's happening, then I'll do that, right? That's what he actually really meant. He didn't really mean that he was just making things up, which is kind of what it sounds like to the liberal ear, okay? This is how they are spinning it, but clearly, obviously, he didn't mean it that way.
He said a piece of garbage. Does this continued focus and digging in by your candidates create a problem for you guys down ballot?
Well, this story is actually about a program, an illegal program, I would suggest,
it's
created by
legal.
Kamala Harris and Joe
legal.
Biden. Well, you can say technical.
Okay.
It's been paused because of all kinds of fraud. And listen, Kate, if you don't want to talk about the Cuba, Haitian, Nicaraguan, Venezuelan program that was created by Kamala Harris and Joe Biden, which brought tens of thousands of migrants to this country.
You can talk about this policy without creating stories. The governor of the state of Ohio calls it a piece of garbage. There are 2 colleges that are shut down, they're going remote today because of concerns over the environment it has created around this.
Now, again, this is what they say, this is how they frame it, and they try to frame it as if, again, this is right-wing stuff, right? Like, but to me, personally, again, I don't know who's behind this stuff, okay? I don't condone any type of threats of violence or anything like that. I'm just saying that this assumption that this is happening because conservatives are doing this, I think, again, that's what the media is trying to imply, but it could very well be leftists that are doing it in order to try to make Trump look bad, right? That could also be what's happening here.
Does a digging in on the incorrect, not misinformation story create a problem for you guys down ballot? There is nothing wrong, as we've seen in recent politics, Congressman, saying I made a mistake or I have an evolving position, truly. But digging in on this when it's like transparently seems no one locally wants this to continue seems a problem for you guys.
What's a problem is the mainstream media refuses to report what caused this problem. You've had thousands of people dropped in this country. By the way, you say it's technically legal. Then why did they pause it? Because they had so much fraud in the program. The American people need to know that what the Biden-Harris administration did. Well, here, just let me finish, Kate.
But you and I, we talk policy all the time. We sit down, but like,
I'd like to.
No, you don't. No, you don't. See, this is the thing about these interviews, right? That be getting me about CNN, right? when the GOP rightfully brings up, like, for example, with the Laura Loomer stuff too, right? This also happened, right?
Word her for this. Of course, look, she's being talked about right now. And you asked the question, who's Laura Loomer? I don't know who she is, but I just feel like this is juvenile watching him.
She's on the president's, on the former president's
but
plane.
the way that you're like, that the program is framing it and the way that Brian's framing it, it's like these rumors and innuendos. I don't know what she's doing on there. Like, what are you talking about? That's not news. I think it's just juvenile and beneath this show, to be honest with you.
But we're not the ones who are hanging out with her. It's your candidate is hanging out with her and actually listening to her and taking advice from her to call the vice president a recently turned black person.
So he doesn't know.
You're not going to bring it up?
We're talking about, you guys are saying he's taking advice from her. How do you know that? Brian doesn't know that.
She's riding on the plane with him, posting memes that he then talks about and adds dogs into them in the debate.
Have you on this show had someone else who says crazy stuff, anti-Semitism, plenty of that on the left? Have you done the same kind of segment for Kamala? Because there's plenty of examples out there. So I just find this kind of juvenile, to be honest with you.
Right, but what you're not doing is you're not saying anything about Laura Loomer.
Right there.
So your argument.
Do one with her.
Right. What you're doing is you're trying to distract. Your argument doesn't. I'm asking about Laura Loomer.
I just find it juvenile. That's all.
Okay. Is it juvenile for the former president to hang out with her and to take advice from her?
I don't know that he's taking advice from her.
Okay.
I don't know who she is.
Is it?
So I don't know. Now, Anderson, she's got to be super happy because she's getting tons of airtime right now for nothing. And just like Brian said,
I'm just asking you.
What you say is bad.
Okay, I understand you don't want to answer the question because you're trying to deflect.
I'm not trying to deflect anything.
No, but that's your argument style, and I get it. I understand the tactic.
What are you asking me?
Is it wise if she is giving him advice and he's taking advice from her? Is that wise?
I don't know. Probably not. Okay. But I don't know he's taking advice. I don't know. Do you?
Okay. Based on the reporting,
on Brian's reporting?
Actually, the reporting about her being on the plane and the memes that then end up in the debate, and also...
Is there a reporter who sat on the plane with Donald Trump and said Laura Loomer is giving him advice? I mean, is there?
He's using her words, Scott. He's using her words and her sentence structure when he's in a debate or he's in an interview. He's taking her words.
You guys are saying stuff that you just don't know. It's just your opinion, which is fine.
Okay.
Well, okay.
We all have opinions.
The White House
opinion.
When the GOP rightfully brings up that we shouldn't be talking about this, like this is a waste of time, they get offended because you're basically calling the media out on the fact that you're not covering the real issues. You're just boohoo whining, crying about everything that Trump does, everything that he says, who he hangs out with, where he's at every day, 24/7. That's what you're doing. And it's not even journalism anymore. It's just opinion, right? Listen to Anderson Cooper sit there as a so-called journalist and try to abuse his title as a journalist to say, well, he's taking advice from Laura Loomer. Well, how do you know that? Were you on the plane? No. Did anybody on the plane report that Trump was taking advice from her? No. Well, we think that he's taking advice from her because we just feel like he is, right? And it's like, this is not journalism, right? You guys are engaging in speculation. This is straight opinion, right? But again, it's opinion disguised as journalism, okay? That's what it is. So in this situation, you have this journalist basically boohoo-whining and crying about something Trump said instead of actually focusing on the real issue, which are the fact that you have all these migrants that were stuffed into this small town in such a short time because of the Kamala Harris and Biden administration policies. Instead of talking about that, instead of focusing on the actual real core issue here at hand, no. They want to obsess over what Trump said, what J.D. Vance said, these things that are not as important as the actual core underlying story, which they would never talk about had Trump and J.D. Vance not said what they said, right? They would never talk about it. That's the crazy thing. They want to pretend as if, yeah, we want to talk about issues, but you wouldn't be talking about Springfield if it wasn't for Trump and J.D. Vance. And that's what J.D. Vance means. That's what everybody is pointing out. You don't care unless you can use it against Trump. And the evidence of that is considering the fact that this has been happening in liberal cities across the country. Chicago, New York, Boston, D.C. I've been covering this story, right? These stories for the past 2 or 3 years straight. And CNN, MSNBC, the mainstream, they've ignored it for the most part. The things that are happening in these liberal cities, in these towns as a result of illegal immigration in this country. They've been ignoring it. But yet they want to pretend like, no, we want to talk about that. We just can't talk about it because Trump says things that we don't like. Okay? It triggers us, so we can't talk about those stories. It's Trump's fault. No, you just choose not to cover the story, right? That's all. That's what's happening here. Because again, they wouldn't give a damn about this. They wouldn't give a damn about the residents of Springfield unless attention was brought to it by Trump and J.D. Vance.
This one, then get past the wrong and then move on to the policy.
How about talk about the wrong? The wrong is that we've got an administration that is lawless, and they allowed migrants from these different countries to come into this country, and they flew them into places like Ohio and Minnesota and California.
If this story of eating pets is completely factually wrong and is not true, you are okay with the story continuing and your candidate continue to talk about it.
I hope you start reporting on the problem that causes all of this, which is an administration. Kamala Harris is responsible for allowing thousands of migrants here improperly because they lied on their applications.
Will you answer that yes or no?
You realize 1,000 of these applications
I take your
had
hope on what we want to talk about.
24 phone numbers of dead people.
Congressman, the inability to answer yes or no on the simple question kind of takes away the heft of wanting to talk about the policy.
Well, I'd love it if you would talk about the actual policy created by the Biden administration.
Absolutely will once you answer the yes or no.
Well, you should want to talk about the policy regardless, because this yes or no hypothetical, is this story gonna hurt the GOP down ballot? Well, the answer to that question is no, right? The real answer to the question, no, it's not. Actually, it's gonna bring attention to the real problem, which you guys refuse to cover, okay? Which is that, again, you have all of these Haitians in this small town because of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, and this is happening across the country and cities everywhere, right? Now is spreading into small towns, okay? Yeah, so it is going to benefit us down ballot, even if you guys refuse to cover the actual real issue here, okay? That's what he should say, okay? But again, him not answering that question does not stop her from talking about the actual issue, okay? It doesn't. She's just using that as an excuse because she really doesn't want to talk about the real policy or the issues.
Again, if you need to start reporting on what caused this problem.
We are. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sarah.
See how she flipped that segment, right? See how she flipped the segment over to somebody else instead of continuing the segment and getting to that policy discussion that she claimed that she wants to talk about. Well, as soon as you answer the question, we can talk about the policy. No. You have no interest in talking about the policy. You have no interest in talking about why this is happening. You have no interest in criticizing Kamala Harris. The only thing that these people are interested in is smearing Trump, and that's it. And when this GOP congressman refused to allow her to do that, right, she got upset. She got triggered into anger, visibly angry, right? Upset, flustered, because this guy is not giving her what she wants, which is to somehow try to smear Trump in some way. So like I've been telling you guys, this is going to backfire on the media. This is going to backfire on the Democrats. They're going to wish they did not bring so much attention to this story by obsessing over Trump. Their Trump derangement really is going to cost them the election. That is my prediction. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.